Donald Trump is panicking as multiple Arab nations that are purportedly allied with the United States are demanding that Donald Trump have U.S. forces engage in a ground invasion of Iran. These Arab nations are saying, you can't leave this region unless you obliterate Iran, because if you leave and Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz, and if Iran is stronger than ever, which they are now, you are going to be leaving all of your purported Arab nation allies being left far more vulnerable. And the security umbrella that the United States promised is over. Those quid pro quos, those pay for play schemes, Donald, they are over. And these Arab nations are saying they're going to go elsewhere.
Quick pause. Drop a comment below right now. Doesn't matter what you say. Just say something, because every comment pushes this video in front of someone new, someone who needs to see this. That's how we grow. That's how the truth reaches people. 2 seconds, comment, then let's get back into it.
I know there are a lot of things that are hard to believe lately, but guess who got another made-up award last night? Any guesses? That's right.
The president has done so much for the American people, and we want to honor him in some small way, some token of our appreciation for his leadership. And so tonight, we have created a new award.
You have? Come on, leave the guy. He created a new award. What is going on? I mean, what in the world? This guy can't figure out who should be more embarrassed. The guy who came up with the new award or the guy who proudly accepted the new award? Watch Mike Johnson here. You can almost feel his spine exiting his body.
But he is the suitable and fitting recipient of the first ever America First Award. We can think of no better title for what that is.
Did you try? Because I can come up with, how about the Leisman Trophy? That would be a better name.
On Wednesday night, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives stood at a podium at a Republican fundraising dinner and handed the President of the United States a golden eagle statue. He announced, with a straight face, that it was called the America First Award. He said he had just invented it that night at the dinner, and that he would now be giving it out annually from this point forward. On Thursday, the same president stood at a cabinet meeting and told his entire cabinet and the assembled press that Iran had sent him a gift, not a diplomatic gesture, not a ceasefire signal, a gift, his word. He described it as 8 boats of oil, which then became 10. He said he watched Fox News to find out what the gift was. He said he told the Iranians, "I guess we're dealing with the right people." On the same day, this same president confirmed the new head of the Department of Homeland Security, the man now responsible for protecting 330 million Americans from terrorism, cyber attacks, natural disasters, and foreign threats. His primary pre-political credential? He owned a plumbing company in Oklahoma. And on Monday, that same DHS was confirmed to still be in a 42-day shutdown, with TSA officers working without pay, airport lines stretching 4+ hours, and over 400 TSA agents who had already quit. Jimmy Kimmel saw all of this. And Jimmy Kimmel did what Jimmy Kimmel does. But behind the jokes, behind the golden eagle statue and the boats of oil and the Super Mario comparison, there is a real story happening right now that the comedy makes easier to see. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain are privately pushing Trump to launch a ground invasion of Iran. Iran just struck a fully loaded oil tanker 31 miles from Dubai. Gas prices have hit $4 a gallon nationally for the first time since 2022.
Here's the breaking news late at night that has Donald Trump a-panicking. The United Arab Emirates, supported by Bahrain, Kuwait, and also Saudi Arabia, pushing hard for Donald Trump to order a ground invasion of Iran. Mind you, these nations aren't going to provide their own ground forces, as officials from many Gulf allies of the United States, again, including Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, have conveyed in private conversations that they don't want the ongoing military operation to end until there are significant changes in the Iranian leadership or there's a dramatic shift in Iran's behavior, diplomatic officials told the Associated Press. I mean, just over the past 12 hours, you had an oil tanker off the coast of Dubai get hit by Iran. You've had major infrastructure in Kuwait be destroyed by Iran. Iran continues to strike in Israel, recently hitting an oil depot in Haifa, continues to strike Bahrain, continues to hit critical infrastructure and military bases in Saudi Arabia.
The BME would be good. The Nobel Peace of, you know what? I mean, but the Speaker of the House is correct. There could be no more deserving winner of this fictitious distinction you created specifically to tongue bathe his undercarriage than Donald Trump. My favorite part when they give Trump these awards is when he comes out with a look of surprise on his face, like, what? Another trophy for me? And the saddest part is he seems to be genuinely honored by these imaginary accolades.
Mr. President, come on out.
IQ is what keeps independent journalism alive. Link in the description. Now let's start with the Golden Eagle. March 25th, 2026. The National Republican Congressional Committee's annual fundraising dinner at Union Station in Washington, D.C., $37 million raised for Republican congressional candidates. Speaker Mike Johnson takes the stage, and he says, and I want you to understand this was not a joke. He was completely serious. He says, tonight we have created a new award. We are going to do something we've never done before. We are going to honor him with a new award that we will present annually from this point forward. The award is a Golden Eagle statue. Johnson called it the America First Award. He said Trump was the suitable and fitting recipient, which, to be clear, is impossible because it was created 5 minutes before he received it. You cannot be the fitting recipient of an award that didn't exist before you walked in the room.
And then earlier today during a press conference, Donald Trump's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt's like, we're going to have the Arab nations pay for this war. We're going to roll out that plan. I mean, yeah, we invaded the region with Netanyahu without telling the Arab nation allies that, bought Donald Trump private planes and put up Trump hotels in their countries and funneled hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to Trump Bitcoin and crypto and other Trump ventures like World Liberty Financial. But we're going to make the Arab nations pay for it. Meanwhile, the Iranian parliament earlier today approved a bill to levy fees on the Strait of Hormuz transit, at least $2 million for any ship to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This was voted on by the Iranian parliament. So as Donald Trump's like, we've totally obliterated them. They're utterly destroyed. They don't exist anymore. Their parliament met and held a formal meeting where they passed a law to fully take control over the Strait of Hormuz in their legislation. And meanwhile, the Speaker of the Iranian parliament, MB Ghalibaf, the guy who Donald Trump says, yeah, I'm negotiating with Ghalibaf. And
grace and elegance of a gorilla at a wedding. And he's thrilled. He's thrilled. It's like, when you promise you buy your kids gummy worms if they have a good behavior day. It's like that. The statue they gave him, the statue itself, the inaugural America First Award, in recognition of our president's extraordinary need to win things every single day, is a golden eagle. And that is going on the mantle right next to his re-gifted Nobel Peace Prize and the Olympic gold medal he didn't win and the 3 tournament championships he won at his own golf club. Are we sure he's building a ballroom with that money and not a $900 million trophy case? But Trump loves trophies. I mean, he even married one. He really loves trophies. And then
Johnson then said, that is this beautiful golden statue here, appropriate for the new golden era in America. Trump walked out, saw the statue, raised his eyebrows, patted Johnson on the back, said audibly, that's nice. He then gave a lengthy speech, without mentioning the award once. Let me give you some context for how obscene this is. This is not how American presidents are typically treated at fundraising dinners. According to the Boston Globe, Joe Biden, George W. Bush, and every other president of modern times attended the NRCC dinner without needing to be lured there with a trophy. They showed up because they wanted their party to win congressional seats. The award wasn't needed. No previous president needed to be rewarded for showing up to help his own party. But Trump needed the Golden Eagle. And this was not even the first fake award. According to the Jezebel Guide to Trump's Manufactured Honors, this followed the FIFA Peace Prize, invented by FIFA President Gianni Infantino, also created specifically for Trump, given to him at the Kennedy Center in December. It followed the Washington Coal Club's Undisputed Champion of Beautiful Clean Coal Award. It followed Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado handing Trump her own Nobel Peace Prize medal, the actual medal that belongs to her, apparently in the hope that Trump would install her as leader of Venezuela. The Nobel Peace Center clarified in January, a medal can change owners, but the title of Nobel Peace Prize laureate cannot. He received all of those awards. And then he received the Golden Eagle. And this, according to Jen Psaki, who said it on Blue Sky, is now like the EGOT for insecure man-baby presidents. Jimmy Kimmel got to this in his monologue and did not let it go. He pointed out the obvious. No self-respecting person gives themselves an award at their own dinner.
We're becoming closer. I'll let you know in a few weeks what he's like. MB Galibaf posted an hour or so ago, Iran's enemies pass off their wishes as news while simultaneously threatening our nation. They're dead wrong. If they strike once, they'll get hit several times back. The people of Iran, God willing, under the guidance of the supreme leader of the revolution, will make the enemy regret its actions and attain their rightful rights. And as noted, Kuwait's Petroleum Corporation said that Iranian forces attacked an oil tanker, the Al Salmi, in the Persian Gulf tonight. Iran hit this Kuwaiti crude carrier in a Dubai port. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations also confirmed that there was this strike there. Meanwhile, you have the United States and Israel striking an area in Isfahan believed to be a ballistic missile depot in Isfahan, though not clear what it is. And then earlier, you had the Iranian press secretary, one of the IRGC or foreign ministry press secretaries, rather. He's like, we're not having any negotiations with Donald Trump. Don't believe him. There's no communications. Yes, they're trying to convey to Pakistan things to have us talk, but we've put forward our non-negotiables that unless we get reparations, we control the Strait of Hormuz, we don't reduce our ballistic missiles or Shahed drones, we have real security guarantees for us, the Houthis, Hezbollah, and our Iranian Shiite proxies in Iraq. We're not doing anything. Here, just remember, listen to what the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said. Play this clip.
We have had no direct negotiations with America so far. Since the last round of negotiations until now, the US demands have been very excessive, unrealistic, and illogical. The meetings that Pakistan has with neighboring countries are, well, a framework they themselves have established. We have not participated in this framework. Can it be allowed that Iran and Iranians be in a position of confronting the illegal aggression of America and the Zionist regime to use the available capabilities on the soil of regional countries while our armed forces remain silent? The duty of every authority demands that it respond to such cases with...
And then Cecil B. Dementia got up and gave an hour-long acceptance speech during which he covered a wide range of subjects, including how bigly he's winning the war in Iran that isn't actually a war at all.
They want to deflect from all of the tremendous success that we're having in this military operation. I won't use the word war because they say if you use the word war, that's maybe not a good thing to do. They don't like the word war because you're supposed to get approval. So I'll use the word military operation.
That's right. That's right. It's not World War III he's getting us into. It's World Military Operation 3. At least he's upfront about the fact that he just brazenly disregarded the authority of all the people in that room. Oh, you need permission from Congress to start a war? I'll just call it a picnic then. And they'll give me an award for it. Not only did Trump get an award from Congress, he got a present from Iran. On Tuesday, he was bragging about this mysterious secret prize he got from the Iranians. He said he couldn't tell us what it was. And then, of course, during his cabinet meeting today, he couldn't hold it in anymore and told us what it was.
You know, I told you about a present, right? Steve, can I reveal the present? anything you want, sir. They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there. We're going to let you have 8 boats of oil. 8 boats. 8 big boats of oil.
Let me get this straight. The country we are at war with, the country we are currently bombing, sent you a gift? And that gift is 8 big boats of oil? It's a Hanukkah miracle. Except from a country that hates Hanukkah and the people who celebrate it. 8 boats of oil is a gift you'd send Diddy, not the President of the United States.
He noted the absurdity of an award created in real time, named by the man giving it, given to the man receiving it, and framed as an honor. He called it a golden statue of himself, which is close to the truth, because a golden eagle in flight is basically a proxy for everything Trump associates with his own brand. And then Kimmel pointed out something the rest of the media mostly slid past. Trump received this award the same day Florida Democrats flipped a state legislative seat in the Palm Beach district that contains Mar-a-Lago, nearly the 30th state legislative flip for Democrats since Trump took office. Republicans had flipped 0. Mike Johnson invented a Golden Eagle trophy for a man whose party has lost 30 straight legislative seats. That is the context for the new golden era in America. Before I keep going, I need you to do one thing right now. Drop a comment below. Anything. One word. Your reaction. Every comment tells YouTube this video matters. YouTube then shows it to more people. More people means more Americans who actually know what is going on right now. Comment now. Then let's keep going. Now let's talk about the boats of oil, because this is where the comedy and the catastrophe become the same thing. 2 days before the Golden Eagle ceremony, on March 24th, Trump appeared in the Oval Office with Special Middle East Envoy Steve Witkoff and teased that Iran had given America a present, a very significant prize, worth a tremendous amount of money. He said Iran was going to make a deal. He said the war had been won. He said the U.S. was way ahead of schedule, though he did not specify what schedule or what finish line. The next day, reporters kept asking, what was the present? On March 26th, at a cabinet meeting, Trump asked Witkoff for permission to reveal the gift. You can do anything you want, Witkoff said. Trump paused for effect, and then he explained. Iran, he said, told U.S. negotiators, to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there. We're going to let you have 8 boats of oil. 8 boats of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. That was the gift. He said he didn't think much of it. Then he watched Fox News. And he saw on Fox News that something unusual was happening in the strait.
And now Senator Marco Rubio is posting videos where he says the following on the Department of State website and their social media accounts. Pay attention to the shift of language. Here's what Rubio said. Here are the clear objectives of the operation. You should write them down. Okay, Rubio, I'll write them down. 1, the destruction of Iran's Air Force. 2, the destruction of their Navy. 3, the severe diminishing of their missile launching capability. 4, the destruction of their factories. Bullseye emoji. The severe diminishing of their missile launch. So they can still have the missiles. They can still keep the regime. They can still control the Strait of Hormuz. There's no regime change. They're stronger than ever. But are you saying that they'll have to get rid of their Navy and their Air Force? They're hitting with the drone swarms, the FPV drones and the Shahid drones and the ballistic missiles. That's what but they don't, just as long as those are diminished. But by whose account? Notice that there was nothing on that list as well about not enriching uranium or nuclear capabilities or anything like that. Do you see the whole shift in the language, which coincides? And I'll do a longer report on this, but the Wall Street Journal reporting the following. Trump is signaling he's willing to end the war with Iran without reopening the Strait of Hormuz, effectively handing control of the choke point to Iran and punting any plan to reopen it to a later date. By the way, Iran won't accept that unless they have security guarantees. That's pretty obvious. You heard what they said. Trump tells his aides he's willing to end the war without reopening Hormuz. In other words, he's willing to surrender. That's what he's saying. Administration officials assess that forcing the waterway back open would mean extending the military mission. Y'all did the invasion. It was your catastrophic unlawful invasion where you said you were going to do regime change.
Now, some White House staffers were reportedly baffled by the president's remarks, which I'm guessing that's a regular occurrence now. It seems it started with Covfefe and just kind of snowballed from there. There's another story coming from inside the White House that says Trump is upset with J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance hasn't been supportive enough of his war. The story says Trump has been making snide, annoyed comments about J.D. in private, which, how great would it be if he fired J.D. Vance and brought back Mike Pence? Can he do that? Like when the original Becky came back to Roseanne? Trump touched on a number of topics at the cabinet meeting today, one of the most important being his thoughts when it comes to pens.
See this pen right here? This pen is an interesting reason. It's the same thing. So this pen is very inexpensive, but it writes well. I like it. But I can't have the pen the way it was. You know what it is. I don't want to give them too much publicity, but they do treat me well. Sharpie.
They do treat me well, Sharpie. He has exactly 0.02 seconds of impulse control. Are we the only country that has a national pen? They should call his a Dully. They should write Dully on every one of them. And he's going to be putting that pen to use. He's about to become the first sitting president to have his signature on money. To celebrate America's 250th anniversary, Trump is having his signature added to dollar bills. They released an image of what it will look like, and I don't know, it seems a bit subtle for him.
8 tankers were moving through. He said, I guess they were right. They were real. Then, he added, Iran apologized for something they had said. He did not specify what. And as the apology, they sent 2 more boats. So 10 total. Then later, on Air Force One, he said Iran had given 20 boats as a further tribute. Out of a sign of respect, he said. Let me put this in plain English. The President of the United States, who is currently conducting a war against Iran, a war that has killed at least 13 American service members, wounded more than 310, and hit gas prices to $4 a gallon, described Iran allowing oil tankers to transit the strait as a gift sent to prove Iran is real and solid. But here's what the Times of Israel found when they checked the shipping data. There has been no public reporting about 8 Pakistani flag tankers specifically. None of the tankers that did successfully transit the strait during that period were Pakistani flagged. Iran has been selectively allowing certain vessels, primarily Chinese-owned ships, to pass through the strait while blocking others.
And now it's reopened the Strait of Hormuz. That's what you're considering a win? Like, do we all realize how pathetic it is? Here's how it's being described also. Trump has, according to the Wall Street Journal, informed his aides, what we said before. The plan now is pressure Tehran diplomatically to restore the free flow of trade. If that fails, Washington would press allies in Europe and the Gulf to take the lead on reopening the strait, officials said, according to the report. U.S. officials determined that a direct mission to reopen the Strait of Hormuz would risk prolonging the war beyond Trump's stated 4 to 6 week timeline. Instead, the strategy has shifted toward degrading Iran's military capabilities while winding down active operations, while Iran now moves towards fully codifying, which you heard, its toll system in the Strait of Hormuz. A member of Iran's National Security Commission said lawmakers approved the formal plan to codify Iran's control. The proposal includes new financial arrangements. It's a tolling system they now control. Oman notably is referenced as a potential partner in shaping the legal framework. Remember Oman, who Donald Trump picked to be his mediator back in late February? Before Donald Trump and Netanyahu invaded Iran? Remember the Omanian foreign minister who said that there was a deal in principle in the afternoon, and that night Netanyahu and Trump invaded Iran? Yeah, Oman is now working with Iran to help them solidify the Hormuz toll system. Why Oman? 1, they're close by, but 2, it gives it legitimacy. That now we're working with the mediator who's now on our side, blessing our ability to control Hormuz. Like, do we see the moves that are being made? But while that's being reported, a few things. I'll do a longer report on this. Financial Times reports a broker for U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth attempted to purchase a defense-focused fund shortly before U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran. The inquiry reportedly involved a multi-million-dollar investment in BlackRock's Defense Industrial Active ETF via Morgan Stanley, but the transaction was never executed because the fund was not yet available to Morgan Stanley clients.
The president and his pals in the MAGA media are not happy with me right now. Trump even called into Fox to complain about me tonight. His Apple polishers are all in a tizzy because I made light of the fact that his new head of Homeland Security, Markwayne Mullin, before he was a senator, was a plumber, and now he's the head of Homeland Security, which is not necessarily the kind of resume you might hope for the person in charge of protecting us from terrorism. Of course, they decided to twist that to say it was an insult to plumbers, which it was not. I wouldn't put a plumber in charge of Homeland Security for the same reason I wouldn't call a five-star general to pull a rat out of my toilet, okay? We all have our areas of expertise. So anyway, they went nuts about this. They went nuts on every channel.
The White House rejected this characterization, with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying that Iran was not cherry-picking. But that is exactly what the independent maritime data shows. Iran is not gifting oil to America. Iran is controlling who gets to use the world's most important waterway, and occasionally letting a few ships through to demonstrate its leverage in negotiations. Trump is calling this a gift because calling it what it is would mean admitting that Iran currently controls the Strait of Hormuz, that approximately 20% of the world's seaborne oil is being held hostage by the country he started a war against, and that oil prices are through the roof because of decisions he made. According to one former energy advisor to President George W. Bush, quoted by CNN, gas prices are going to go much higher if the strait remains closed. They have already risen roughly $1 per gallon since the war began. Jimmy Kimmel got to all of this. He walked through the gift story beat by beat, the build-up, the dramatic reveal, the boats, the apology boats, the tribute boats, and highlighted exactly what made it so strange. This is a wartime president describing receiving tribute from the enemy he is currently bombing. He is framing a partial, temporary, selectively controlled reopening of a waterway that Iran should not control in the first place as a sign of progress. The boats are not a gift. The boats are leverage. And Trump called it a gift anyway. Now let's talk about Markwayne Mullin. Because the Mullin story is the Mullin story. And the Mullin story is also the AOC story. And the two of them together tell you everything you need to know about MAGA's relationship with hypocrisy.
The Pentagon rejected the claim, calling it fabricated. And the NASDAQ-listed IDEF fund has risen about 28% over the year, but it's down roughly 13% over the past month. You have this world-renowned economist, Mohammed El-Erian, says, I must say I'm more worried than the average. He said that the war has triggered both a price shock and a demand shock, warning a chain reaction from energy shock to inflation shock to demand destruction, with Asia already fearing actual physical shortages, raising the risk of financial instability if the conflict continues. But folks, one of the main architects of this war, Lindsey Graham, was photographed by TMZ at Disneyland with a bubble wand. And by the way, my little daughter, 18 months, she loves the bubble. He was at Disney World. Sorry, not Disneyland. Disney World. My baby daughter, she loves the bubble wand at Disneyland, and he was waving that around, apparently. Then Lindsey Graham had to show how tough he was. And he goes, spent some time breaking clays in Edgefield County today. Doesn't get much better than that. We're hunting some duck. We're hunting some pheasant out there. I'm a tough guy. Meanwhile, gas prices over $4 officially. The national average has just hit $4 a gallon, according to Gas Buddy right now. U.S. oil prices surged above $105 a barrel. Brent is over $114, $115 a barrel. That's what we got for now. We'll keep you posted every step of the way.
But I think that my favorite part of a bit of performative outrage came from a person named Rob Finnerty of Newsmax.
It did not take long for Jimmy Kimmel to mock our new Homeland Security Secretary, Markwayne Mullin, because Mullin was a plumber before he ran for Congress.
Before he was elected to the Senate, Markwayne Mullin was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now. Trump is going to keep looking.
Do you know how many people in America that offends, including myself? Do you know how many people that offends? Jimmy Kimmel, by the way, who's not funny or handsome or anything, okay? He's just a guy who makes a lot of money.
Oh, I like how important handsome is on his list. Not funny or handsome. I can barely even get a boner watching this guy. I'm so sorry you were offended, Rob. I didn't know you were such a sensitive snowflake. And by the way, you're a handsome guy. Had I known you were so delicate, I never would have suggested such a terrible thing.
You see, what people like Jimmy Kimmel never seem to understand is that people like Markwayne Mullin are exactly why 15 million illegals came into this country under Joe Biden. They want the American dream, and Markwayne Mullin is living it. And so are you, Jimmy. So cut him some slack.
Okay, I will. Listen, let me make this very clear. I'm not upset that the head of Homeland Security used to be a plumber. I'm upset that he isn't still a plumber, okay? And the best part of all of this, all the outrage from Finnerty and Hannity and the Five, is that I distinctly remember some very serious concerns resume-wise when it came to a certain former bartender from New York.
Before Ocasio-Cortez was elected to Congress, her resume is she was a bartender.
The Congresswoman is kind of like Vice President Kamala Harris, but with more bartending experience.
She has no idea where Venezuela is on a map because they don't teach geography in bartending school. Why the governor of Michigan is speaking in Munich on foreign policy, or AOC, who was a bartender a few years ago.
The bartender from Queens.
She may have been a good bartender.
That bartender.
She's a bartender.
A former bartender.
Bartender turned politician.
29-year-old bartender.
I mean, this lady is less than 2 years removed from searching behind the bar for plant life when somebody ordered a root beer.
Well, on behalf of bartenders everywhere, we anxiously await your apology. You do the bartenders, I'll do the plumbers, okay?
Mullin was confirmed as DHS Secretary on March 23, 2026 in a 54-45 Senate vote, replacing Kristi Noem, who was fired after ICE agents shot and killed 2 American citizens in Minnesota, and her approval ratings collapsed. Mullin is an Oklahoma Republican senator, a first-term lawmaker, a former undefeated MMA fighter with a professional record of 5-0, and the owner of a family plumbing company he expanded into the largest service company in his region over 28 years. He now runs the Department of Homeland Security. It's 22 agencies. It's 260,000 employees. Its responsibilities for border security, counterterrorism, cybersecurity, FEMA, the Coast Guard, the Secret Service, and, while it is in a 42-day shutdown, the TSA, whose underpaid officers are the only thing standing between airport travelers and the collapse of the entire American commercial aviation security system. Jimmy Kimmel made the Super Mario comparison. He said, "We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now. It worked for Super Mario. Why not Markwayne?" The MAGA world lost its mind. DHS told Fox News the department was too busy arresting gang members, terrorists, pedophiles, rapists, murderers, and other criminal illegal aliens to engage in this kind of silliness. Podcaster Mike Rowe, best known for Dirty Jobs, published a lengthy defense of Mullin and blue-collar work, arguing that Kimmel was degrading skilled tradespeople. Various MAGA media personalities accused Kimmel of elitism and class contempt for plumbers. So Kimmel went back on his show the next night and said something that cut the entire argument in half. He said, "I'm not upset that the head of Homeland Security was a plumber. I'm upset that he isn't still a plumber." Then he added, "I wouldn't put a plumber in charge of Homeland Security for the same reason I wouldn't call a 5-star general to pull a rat out of my toilet, okay? We all have our areas of expertise." And then he pointed out the hypocrisy that everyone in MAGA media had apparently forgotten. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was a bartender before she was elected to Congress, and MAGA media spent years, literally years, calling her unqualified, too inexperienced, not serious enough, too working class to govern. They mocked her job. They mocked her background. They used her bartender credential as evidence that she should not be taken seriously as a legislator. But when Markwayne Mullin's plumbing background is questioned, suddenly blue-collar credentials are honorable, admirable, and disqualifying only for Democrats. Kimmel did not have to say it more than once. The point landed, and it landed because it is true. Here is the additional context Kimmel didn't have time to add, but deserves to be said. Mullin replaced Kristi Noem because ICE agents under her watch shot Renee Good and Alex Preddy, both American citizens, in Minnesota. Mullen was confirmed while the DHS shutdown continued into its 42nd day. During his confirmation hearing, he was asked whether ICE should obtain judicial warrants before entering private property. He said yes. He was asked whether he would require ICE to wear identification during operations. He signaled openness. He was asked about his temperament. Senator Rand Paul questioned whether a man with anger issues could set the right tone for ICE agents, and voted against him. Even before his first day on the job, two Democratic senators, Fetterman and Heinrich, crossed the aisle to vote for him, with Heinrich saying directly, "I look forward to having a secretary who doesn't take their orders from Stephen Miller." Whether Mullen ends up being different from Noem remains to be seen. But the DHS he is inheriting is still shut down, and thousands of its employees are still unpaid. Now let's talk about the war, because that is what all of this is happening inside of. The Golden Eagle, the boats of oil, the plumber, all of it is the sideshow. The war is the main event. On March 30th, 2026, the day after Trump let us sanction Russian tankers sail into Cuba in defiance of his own blockade, an Iranian drone struck the Al Salmi, a Kuwait-flagged very large crude carrier. The ship was 31 nautical miles northwest of Dubai. It was fully loaded, carrying a cargo that can hold approximately 2 million barrels of oil worth over $200 million at current prices. The attack started a fire on board. Dubai emergency teams fought it. The fire was eventually contained. All 24 crew members survived. This attack happened inside a busy anchorage zone outside Dubai's port where, according to Bloomberg, more than 400 ships were waiting for insurance coverage and escort arrangements to exit the Persian Gulf. All of them trapped by the same closure of the Strait of Hormuz that Trump's war created. According to Bloomberg, Iran now has near total control of the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway that before this war carried roughly 20% of the world's oil. Iran has made at least 21 confirmed attacks on merchant ships since the war began. It has selectively allowed Chinese-owned vessels to transit. It has indicated that Pakistani vessels may also be granted passage. It is operating the strait on its own terms, and it is attacking ships that do not comply. This is the strategic reality that Trump's 8 boats of oil story was designed to paper over. And while all of this was unfolding, a bombshell AP report, confirmed simultaneously by the Washington Post, ABC News, and multiple other outlets, revealed that the Gulf Arab nations are not simply supporting the U.S. war. They are privately pushing for more. According to the AP, officials from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain have conveyed in private conversations that they do not want military operations to end until there are significant changes in Iranian leadership or a drastic reduction in Iran's ability to threaten their neighbors. The UAE has emerged as the most hawkish, pushing specifically for a ground invasion of Iran. Kuwait and Bahrain favor this option too. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has told White House officials that further defanging of Iran's military capabilities and clerical leadership serves the long-term interest of the Gulf region and beyond. Achieving those goals, the AP reported, would require a sharp course correction by the theocracy that has been in charge of the country since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, or its removal. Regime change. That is what the Gulf Arab nations are privately asking for. Ground invasion, regime change, elimination of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs, permanent guarantees that the Strait of Hormuz cannot be closed again. And here is the complication. The Gulf states are also terrified. Iran has threatened to strike desalination plants, the facilities that produce drinking water for roughly 100 million people across the Gulf region, if Trump follows through on his April 6th ultimatum to strike Iran's power infrastructure. Bahrain has already had a desalination plant damaged by an Iranian drone. Iran has fired more than 2,300 missiles and drones at the UAE alone since the war began. The same nations pushing for escalation are also the nations absorbing thousands of Iranian strikes on their civilian infrastructure. Yasmin Farouk, the Gulf and Arabian Peninsula director at the International Crisis Group, put it plainly to the AP. The absence of a clear objective, the absence of the trust that the United States is really going to go until the end and finish the jobs. It's making some of them reluctant. And Trump? Trump is publicly suggesting he wants to wind down the war without fully reopening the strait, without achieving regime change. and without the comprehensive settlement his Gulf allies are demanding. According to the Wall Street Journal, the administration has shifted to a strategy of degrading Iranian military capabilities and then using diplomatic pressure through European and Gulf allies to push Iran toward resuming trade. The April 6th deadline, which Trump set for Iran to reopen the strait or face strikes on its energy infrastructure, is now days away, and Iran has still not agreed to a deal. The situation in numbers: Brent crude is up more than 50% since the war began. The average U.S. gas price crossed $4 a gallon for the first time since August 2022. The IEA has called this the biggest oil shock in history. The Pentagon is preparing weeks of ground operations as an option. The USS Tripoli arrived with 3,500 Marines on March 27th. Over 57,000 U.S. troops are now in the region, the largest concentration since 2003. This is where we are. And this is what Jimmy Kimmel was laughing at when he covered the week. Not because it is funny, because when the President of the United States is accepting a made-up Golden Eagle trophy from the Speaker of the House at a fundraising dinner while the worst oil shock in history grinds on, when he is describing enemy nations sending him gift boats of crude oil as a diplomatic breakthrough while gas hits $4 a gallon, when he is installing a plumber to run an agency he cannot even fund, the gap between the theater of the presidency and the reality of the war becomes so vast that comedy is the only tool capable of measuring it. Kimmel measuring it is not trivial. 6.26 million people watched his return from suspension 6 months ago. Millions more watch him every week. He is one of the few voices on television who will say the simple thing, that none of this is normal, that an American president receiving tribute boats from the country he is bombing is not a sign of diplomatic progress, and that when you've invented a new award for your own president at a fundraising dinner while his approval rating sits at 36%, something has gone very wrong with the relationship between the powerful and reality. And here is the additional thread Kimmel did not pull on, but this channel will. The same week Trump received the Golden Eagle and told his cabinet about the gift boats, his White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed that Trump was considering asking the Gulf Arab nations to pay for the cost of the war. He requested an additional $200 billion in war funding from Congress. That's $200 billion, on top of everything already spent, for a war started, according to Trump's own press secretary, based on a feeling, based on a fact. The feeling, based on a fact, not a strategy, not a defined objective, not a diplomatic process with a beginning, middle, and end. A feeling, and 13 dead Americans, and the biggest oil shock in history, and $200 billion more in funding requested, and a Golden Eagle on a podium at Union Station. And I have to ask you directly, because I genuinely want to know what you think. When you look at this week in full, the fake award, the gift boats, the plumber running DHS, the Gulf nations pushing for a ground invasion, the oil tanker on fire 31 miles from Dubai, what word comes to mind? What do you call this? Comment below. I'm reading every single one. Here is the bottom line. Trump received a made-up Golden Eagle trophy the same week Democrats flipped their 30th state legislative seat and Republicans their 0. He described enemy nations allowing a partial opening of the waterway he failed to reopen as a gift and a tribute. He installed a former plumber as DHS secretary while TSA agents go unpaid. Airport lines run 4 hours, and the department enters its 7th week of shutdown. He set a deadline of April 6th for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran struck a fully loaded Kuwaiti oil tanker 31 miles from Dubai on the 30th. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Bahrain are privately pushing him for a ground invasion and regime change. And gas hit $4 a gallon nationally. Kimmel saw all of it. He made it accessible. He made it clear. He made 6 million people laugh at the theater while showing them the war underneath. Share this video. Subscribe if you haven't. $9 a month. Link in the description. And comment right now, one word, one sentence, whatever you're thinking. Because this story is too important to stay inside the algorithms. This is America Facticity. I'll see you in the next one.